Hello, everybody. This is Brandon from Galaxy Stock Market. Today is July 11th, 2026, Saturday. It's about 8:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time as I bring you this Markets Look Ahead video. And I understand that we did not do a video last week because it was more of the same from the previous holiday shortened week. And July and June into July has been filled with holiday shortened weeks from Juneteenth all the way to 4th of July. And that low volume market environment has continued on into this previous week. And as the title suggests, we are seeking volume in this market to confirm a direction. And we have to remain patient. And I believe we're going to see an uptick in volume, especially since this coming Friday, July 17th, 2026, on Friday, is monthly options expiration. Whether you like it or not, we're going to see a tremendous spike in volume to kick off what I would say the end of the summer into the fall stock market trading action. Okay, so let's get started. For those of you not in my community, please pause this disclaimer and read it. If you agree, please move forward. And of course, thank you for everyone for following me at x.com/galaxy.market. I make a lot of commentaries geopolitically as well as market related. I think they are all kind of intertwined lately, and you can't have one without the other. And we thank you so much for your patronage as well as following me on youtube.com. Please like, comment, and subscribe there. All right, so let's get started. And so our gamma exposure for this coming Monday, 7/13, as of the market close on 7/10, which was yesterday, 7/10, which is Friday, is SPX, because our gamma exposures does not look at ES. We have to extrapolate. ES is about 65 to 70 points above SPX. But SPX level is 7650. And so what that means is, yes, that can change as the market opens up and other geopolitical events. But the reason why we like to look at gamma is especially with volume. Now, one caveat is that we do not have the volume, and we'll go over why that's a caveat. But we have to trade the data that is given to us, even if it's from retail gamblers. But the fact of the matter is that we look at the gamma because it tells you really where the strongest position or people with the most amount of money tends to drive prices through manipulation in the Greeks within the options market. And let's face it, market is driven by derivatives and hedging. Okay, so our Monday SPX is 7650. And what that means is when we look at this, and I'm going to comprehensively go over everything here, and we have, of course, right here at 7650, that is the MVC, most valuable contract. And as the market closed, we had a massive positive gamma drift from the put gamma, right? Here's a positive, here's a negative, calls and puts. And so this spike in gamma is foretelling of a potentially a large market move coming on Monday, probably through the first half of the week. What we're waiting for is the volume. Without the volume, these become a little bit more erratic. And the data that we see, it's a little suspect sometimes. It can be very volatile. However, we did, as a group, talk about 7620 on the ES being potential target, and we hit that, basically exceeding it by about 6 points. Will that rally continue? Based on Monday's action that it's foretelling, of course, when the cash market opens and if the volume does start spiking and the market decides what it wants to do, then we will adjust our positioning as we see fit. But however, what we see right now is bullishness to continue at the 7650 on the SPX, and you add about 60 to 70 points to that, that's where we'll get ES. So we're looking at potentially 7720 on Monday. Okay, Now, when we look at kind of the interval GEX, okay, we're looking really, this is the SPX again. We're looking right into this area, right? That arrow. And that is our MVC. Really, there's very small amounts of negative gamma to be determined. Remember, the only caveat I have, I trust these numbers. The only caveat is that the volume is extremely low. We are seeking volume at this point. However, if you look at July 10th, which is Friday, we finished right at that MVC level. One thing I want you to pay attention to is there's about 1.59 billion exposure of the SPX right near that 7650, and these act like magnets and they will go. But however, one thing and I'll talk about this on the next slide, is that we start seeing gaps as well as significant negative gamma exposure as below that price level, and these can act as a price magnet down into these levels. So later in the week, let's see if these numbers hold, and we're going to be vigilantly watching, and this is a scalper's market at this point. Okay, now if you do have a bearish bias, it has to be very, very short, because everybody was out there for the last 2 weeks saying the end of the world was coming, that World War III was coming, and that everything's going to collapse, and that is coming. Okay, I don't know World War III, but a market correction is coming. But I've always maintained that we won't have a significant market correction until later in the fall, sometime between end of October through all of November. And that's what we're waiting on, and it's played out pretty nicely, right? It just does not pay right now to have a bearish momentum or bearish bias at this point. You got to trade the market that's given to you, not the one you want. Okay, and you can do whatever you want, say the market is rigged and manipulated. We all know that. Okay, you trade the market that is given to you. Trump is the master manipulator of stock markets. He is not, based on his ego. Well, he's trying to tell you two things, isn't he? He's not going to let the markets fall. He's going to hyperinflate all asset classes as he brings in and tries to bring in a new monetary system away from the Federal Reserve fractional reserve banking system, which is dying. And I've always maintained that the bankers take you to war and they take you to calamities to blame it on, as they basically hyperinflate all asset classes and then bring in a new monetary system and new world regime, but that's not happening. And the person standing in the way right now is Trump. Whether you like his actions or not, whether you're Democrat or Republican, that's what's happening. Okay. Now, so as we talked about that, Monday is very bullish, and I believe that we're going to have a continuation of the bullish movement higher, subject to real volume coming in. Right now the volume is very, very low, and so one of the things that we always talk about in our community, of course, and you guys all know this, that we basically have kept our positions very, very small or longer term positions, and we really were not that active this past week, partly because of the volume situation. However, we knew that the potential target on by Friday was 76.20, and we hit that almost on the dot. 76.26 ain't bad. Now, however, now that I said that Monday and the first half of this next week is going to be bullish, our gamma analysis exposure for 7/17, which is Friday, and by the way, it's monthly options expiration, so weird things happen. Okay, it's not triple witching or quad witching, but it is monthly options expiration, and this is the big deal. And I believe that's how the volume is going to start expanding, and it's going to continue to expand as the market makers return from their Hamptons vacation this week to start their shenanigans, right? It's telling us a different story. And that different story is that by the time we are positioned way out into Friday, and this is where we closed on the SPX. Again, this is not ES, folks. This is SPX. On the ES, you have to extrapolate 60 to 70 points higher or lower. But however, this is where our prices, whenever the MVC is to the left and that's where prices will likely gravitate towards. Okay, so we have kind of a dual-sized MVC. I believe negative gamma is more prevalent, but the positive is shifted away from the negative side way down into that 7,500, 7,450 level. So this is 7,450 right here. Okay, and this is 7,450. Okay, and then of course we have the 7,500 on the SPX. Okay, you got to add 60 to 70 points to this to correct for the ES price mechanisms. So I believe that there's going to be a higher volume kind of pullback, and I'm sure the bears are going to come out in full force saying that the market crash has started, but that is going to be related to volume coming back as well as hedging, but also because of options expiration, where things happen, and we can kind of see where the markets are positioned. Now, as the volume returns, this may change in the week, but this is the closing data as of Friday, and it gives us a little glimpse, and it allows us to prepare for what's to come. Of course, we are data dependent. We try to eliminate all biases out of our trading, and so this helps us a lot. Now, the other thing that gets me is here's the negative gamma, or the put gamma versus the call gamma drift. And so these are the premium drifts, and you can see that there was an inflection point, and then there was a massive drop in the SPX positioning. And so this is raising our eyebrows a little bit as we head into this options expiration on the 17th, right here, July 17th. And further compounded by that is this is the closing price by the blue line. As we can see, the MVC is down at 7,500, and of course it's the same thing that it's talking about right down up here, down into this area. And of course we've highlighted all of these negative positioning and these gaps that are present. As we head in, this is going to be Friday, so by Tuesday and Wednesday I expect potentially a little bit of a negative market action based on this data. Of course, when the market opens, we will have a clearer picture, but this gives us kind of a bird's eye view of how the market makers are positioned despite the low volume. So let's go into the headlines. My whole point here is, where's Waldo, right? Where's Waldo? Do you still believe in the narratives that are being told? I mean, this guy could hardly walk. He was falling. He didn't speak. I mean, this is a poster child for term limits, right? I mean, how many of you that know any elderlies that are in their late 80s, probably dementia ridden, that is handling very, very sensitive government and future decision making of our country, right? Who is pulling its strings? Okay. Who are these guys right here? This is elder abuse, folks. Okay. Do you really believe that we live in a free society at this point? Okay. I mean, who are these handlers? Okay. Look at this guy. Is he alive? Is he dead? I mean, it's like, just, it's not enough for people to come out and say, oh, I spoke to him for 20 minutes. Who gives a crap? I don't believe you. We don't believe anything that comes out of our government anymore. Whether you're on the right or left, I mean, you have to think for yourself, but it has to pass the smell test, right? Because they think you're stupid. They think that this guy is somehow, after a massive heart attack, and I'm not even going to talk about his Chinese wife who fled. I don't know if she fled. I mean, what was the last thing you heard about it? But we do know that she went to China, right? Why? I mean, you don't think this person has been compromised all along? So that's kind of what we have, right? And so where's Waldo? And this is kind of a summary of what's going on in our world, economically, socially, just everything that's happening. We are living in a banana republic, and it's just crazy, right? You can only hope in God and Jesus at this point, okay? Everything else doesn't matter. And these are things that must come to pass, but you have to have faith that these people are being exposed, that our system, our government system, our financial system are all corrupt. And I think, whether you like what Trump is doing or not, I think he's shedding light into how manipulatable this market is. Hopefully change comes, but it won't come at the hands of man. This is only the only thing that can fix this is God. Okay, not the other God, not Allah, Jesus Christ. And of course, Trump keeps tweeting out and still maintaining that, stocks or cryptos are going to go higher as he shows you that, this whole Iran hoax is something else. It has nothing to do with the stock market, how the economy is doing. They want to scare you. And so I think, just jumping ahead and letting you know that he's got 1,000 missiles. He's about to obliterate Iran. And any of the ceasefire deals that they had doesn't matter. You can't negotiate with Satan at this point. And this is what Iran is. And I don't care what people say about this situation at hand. There is something more sinister going on in Ukraine and in Iran that basically is beyond our comprehension, although I can make guesses, but I'm not going to do that in this video, okay? And he ends it by mocking, Iran, saying praise be to Allah. I mean, it's a joke. The whole thing is a kabuki theater joke, and it is designed to keep you in fear. It is designed to make you sell in panic. I'm a big crypto guy, especially with XRP and gold and silver. It's designed to scare you out of these assets. It's designed to have you guys continue to sell your stocks, into fear as the big boys snatch it up, setting it up for the big fall in the fall, right? This is what's happening. Iran is just a distraction. Don't even buy it. There's not going to be a World War III. There's going to be a monetary reset, but it's not going to come at the hands of a war or some sort of a catastrophic collapse. Okay. Yes, there will be pain. Yes, I do believe banks will eventually fail as they flip the switch away from the fractional banking system, but it's just not now. We are climbing the wall of worry, and this is what this is. This is a wall of worry right here. Okay, here, I said it. And then, of course, when you look at the fear and greed index, as we start hitting and chopping around at the all-time highs in a range-bound market. So the fear and greed, as we are chopping around near the top, is neutral, right? Neither greed or fear. It's just the market's undecided. You know why we get these? It's because there's no volume in the market. Okay, so that's the premise. Before I jump into charts and go over all of these things, this is why we are at the neutral, because the market is undecided at this point. And I think this week, probably by the end of this week, we're going to basically get decision. Right? Are we going to go full greed or full fear? They want to keep you in fear, but the markets are telling you otherwise, right? It's because we do not have a free market system. It's all manipulated. Okay, so but what happens next? Okay, so let's look into some charts and go into our discussion. I'm not going to belabor the point too much, but really XRP it's currently at above $1.10, but it's chopping around in this level. Okay, don't be like these guys sitting and waiting to buy with hand over fist $1,000 when you could get them for $1 right now. Okay, so let's delve right into my technical analysis. Okay, so the McClellan Summation Index, it's foretelling more bullish action. We basically blipped up higher on low volume. However, we have to pay attention to this MACD. I think this happens towards the end of the week where we start coming down. But for the first half of the week, I think we're moving higher, and it's telling us we're moving higher. And this is one of my better directional indicator that gives us about a little bit more early warning sign in addition to my gamma analysis. Here's SPY. Okay, if you guys think this is bearish, I mean, I have to write you a prescription for a psychic ward or a psychology or a counselor. I don't know. But this is not a bearish setup at all whatsoever. In fact, it's telling us that we may be breaking out or we may be just chopping around like we have in this area. Okay, but I think the wall of worry will continue to be climbed as the MAC on our RSI. We broke down that downtrend, and now we're beginning to form a positive movement higher. Okay, so this is the weekly chart on SPY. And, we're above the ADMA. Everything looks bullish here. There's really nothing here that would constitute anything. We are losing some momentum. And again, this is that warning heading into Friday's options expiration. I expect volume to be increasing. Okay. Already low volume, right? We have these type of low volume situations all the way back in, the beginning of the year. Okay. And so we're setting up for that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm saying, do not trust this rally and do not trust this pullbacks. Okay. It's basically chopping in a range as we have seen. But this chart overall on this weekly chart is a bullish looking chart. Okay. You trade the market that you see, not the one you want. Okay. Okay. If I let my emotions go, yes, I am bearish. Yes, there are a lot of macroeconomic factors and the banks being insolvent. I've been talking about that forever. But you got to trade the markets that's given to you. You got to be an adult about this. When we look at the daily, we can see that we're breaking out above this overhead resistance. There's the secondary overhead resistance and the trend line that we need to get above. But we're climbing the wall of worry. We have positive RSI development. We have positive MACD histogram formations over here. I mean, what is there not to like? CCI? Yes, we're getting into that positive territory, but we have a lot of room to go, and it's bullish. Okay, we have the stochastic trending bullish on the daily. We have PPO-ADX forming my favorite crush indicator, right? We have a crush indication here, right here, doing this, right here. What don't you like? Okay. And for those of you following this long-term kind of that uptrend line, we broke that long-term uptrend line. I haven't updated it because I need to see, are we going to blip up here and then come back down later in the fall? It's very well possible, but I think we're going to continue to march higher in a very choppy fashion. We want volume, though, okay, in this market. We need volume confirmation. Okay, here is silver, okay, been taking it up the chin. Okay, trying to find the bottom in a triangle formation. We finished a little bit below there, and it's just chopping sideways, building energy to move higher. Okay, the new monetary system cannot exist without gold and silver breaking out. Gold looks a little bit healthier, but again, these are the levels where you want to accumulate these because nobody wants them right now. No one thinks that it's going to go down. All I hear is certain channels and experts talking about how gold's going to go back down into, the 2,000, 2,500. Don't believe a word that they say. These are the levels. You got to step up right here. I've been very bullish on AVGO for the last 2 weeks, and I believe that we're beginning to break out. And those semiconductors, AI-related plays, they're going to come back with a vengeance for that last hurrah as we push towards that 8,000 on the ES. Okay, and I think we have something to talk about at that level in terms of some bearish cases, but we'll let the markets decide. But AVGO is bullish, and this is going to be one of our bigger plays in our community next week. Okay, and so that's what we're looking at. Yes, things look fairly bearish right now when you look at the other things, but these are about to change. We're having the histograms that are becoming positive. We have the stochastics, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we've been on a downtrend, but we're about to make that cross. We have a bearish PPO-ADX crush, but I believe we're beginning to form this little blip, aren't we? Okay, let's see if that develops. Okay, well, I'm not saying we're going to go and just go hand over fist and get into AVGO, but AVGO is bullish. It's going to be bullish. Chipotle, we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, that this is our weekly chart, okay, for the last 3 weeks, that we told you that it's bottom. It's going to move higher. We just need to take out this 50 SMA and then start moving above this 200 and 100-day moving average. Yes, this is bearish stock, but it is now trying to form a bottom, and I believe that we are going to continue to climb that wall of worry on the stock. Okay, and then we have, of course, our Costco. Let me just get out of this. Okay, so the Costco is I've been bearish on it, and there's no reason for me to not be bearish. Lower volume, sell volumes just predominate all over the place, and any of the attempted breakouts have been met with selling. And now we're below this critical red lines right here. I expect about a 10.2% correction down into this area over the next couple of weeks. Okay, and so that's where I stand. And then, of course, my next one that I'm bearish on, long-term bullish, but bearish currently, is that we have failed to break out above this overhead resistance, and now we're below the 200-day moving average. This is something that we're going to be paying attention to in our community this week. And then, of course, our Ecopetrol. This is a Colombian gas company, oil and drilling company. We had a rising wedge. We pulled back, found support right above the 80 MA. This is bullish, folks. I know it looks pretty bearish. Oh, Brandon, this is a bear flag. What are you doing? No, it's not. This is going to be pretty volatile as it comes from a very volatile election, but a right-wing president has been elected. And after they basically clean up, the previous regime, the communists, and kick them out of there, you're going to see this thing moving much, much higher. It's already showing you that the RSI is positive. We have the MACD that is positive. Okay, and we, by the way, based on our gamma, we predicted this pullback. So this is where we're going in. We just need to have a lot of more time and patience with this. But I believe this thing could be a $30 to $40 stock in the not too distant future. Okay, so we kind of went over that, and so let's look at our macroeconomic situation, and especially the ES. This ES looks fairly bullish to me, right, folks? I mean, I didn't really do a lot of markup. These are my pivot levels. We broke above this pivot level, and now we're sitting right on that overhead resistance. I believe at some point we're going to poke over that, maybe head into that 7,700. We already talked about that gamma, and then start pulling back down into these levels. Right down here, right here, into Friday. That's what at least our preliminary gamma analysis is telling you. Why am I waiting for volume? Because the volume has been dwindling all the way down this is, our daily chart. Okay, we haven't seen these low levels of daily action until, these February. I mean, these levels right down here into January and February's. Okay, without volume, none of these gammas and everything else can be trusted to an extent. I still trust gamma. It's where the majority of the dealers are positioned. But, right now we're playing with the gamblers at this point. We want to see volume spike and rise. We want to see these things rise with increasing volume. We just don't have it right now. But you got to call spade a spade, because realistically we're making these lower highs, right? I mean, higher lows. Sorry, can't talk this morning. The question is, can we break out above here? And that will be the big tell next week. Okay? So, climbing the wall of worry, we're lacking in volume, and it's been like this for 2 weeks. And so, in markets like this, you got to be a scalper. And, my directional bias is I'm cautiously bullish still. I mean, I know we're at nosebleed levels, but you know what? The markets can remain, irrational a lot longer than you can remain solvent. And keep shorting this market, and you're going to get your ass handed to you. And I think Trump commented about that. And that's the truth right now. Okay, so we need to talk about where Bitcoin is. Of course, there's a lot of people talking about the demise of Bitcoin. Yes, I think Bitcoin could go lower. However, right now we trade the markets that we see. And for me, I'm bullish on crypto. I think these are the bottoming areas. Did I get that, sub $48,000 that I wanted? Maybe that comes later. If it does, that's a generational buying opportunity. Cryptos have been volatile. Okay, they don't want you in it. They want you to sell to the bank so that they could sell you Bitcoin, XRP, ETFs to you, the derivatives. Okay, hold the real thing. If you guys think that the market somehow Iran has any bearing on anything, there was not too long ago we were way up in the hundreds, right? We're at $71. Does that look bearish to you? No. Whether it's manipulated, I don't give a crap. It doesn't really matter. We have dollar climbing and we have 10-year yield climbing. That's a bad sign, right? That's a bad sign in a way that does it have to the market have to crash tomorrow? No, but it as far as currencies go, it's a race to zero. They want to hyperinflate the currency and flip the switch and bring in a new monetary system. The dollar is strengthening against just about everything else. Okay, right now, at the same time, the 10-year yield is rising again. Okay, we're in the 45 level. Okay, anything below 46.50, I still say that it's bullish, but we have to keep an eye on this development. The higher this 10-year yield goes, the more insolvent the banks become. We know that. But we got to trade the market that's given to us. So I am cautiously bullish. Okay. Gold, same thing, making, higher lows. Silver, chopping, but still making higher lows. Okay. So eventually, the new monetary system cannot come without these going back above and beyond the previous all-time high set in back in January 29, 2026. For those of you that are bearish, look where VIX is. Okay, we're now below these two range. I mean, we can poke below there and come right back in. But I mean, if we're gonna crash, we should at least be at 25 before any type of a crash warning signals come in. Okay, it's just not there yet, folks. Trade the market that you see, not the one you want. Okay, so that's our macroeconomic analysis. In the coming weeks, I mean, I would seriously, look at Tesla. Okay, I know it's been a chopping mess because lack of volume, but Tesla is, I think, going to be ready when the volume returns to move higher. Okay, when you look at the ones that I'm looking at, I've been telling you CMG down at way below these levels. We're moving higher on CMG, folks. Microsoft has been beaten down. It's now trading in a sideways range, but this is ready to move out higher. United has been a star on the way down. Now it's a star as it finds a bottom and moving higher. You buy these pullbacks. You buy these pullbacks, folks. Okay, moves higher. Okay, and Eco Patrol. Okay, yes, we pulled back as expected, but now we're moving higher. Okay, and it's telling you something big is coming in this name. And then, I've had Microsoft twice there. Costco is basically forming a bear flag. I'm bearish on this name, even if it pops a little bit. I think this week, ahead of the options expiration, we're going to start targeting that 880, 885. Level this week. Okay, so that's kind of what I have. So when we go back to cryptos, get XRP. Get them while they're cheap, folks. Okay, not going to say anymore. So watch for options expiration 7/17 Friday, this Friday. And, but preliminary gamma exposure shows probably a bullish market open on Monday, but heading into some volatility and increasing volume. That's what I've been waiting for. Whether it comes as a result of options expiration, I don't care. I just want more volume so that we can confirm what we see on how the dealers are hedging. And I want the real traders to come back, not the newfound non-PDT retail gamblers. Okay, markets are climbing the wall of worry. Follow the gamma exposure, whether there's volume or not. That's our edge. Okay, monetary system change is coming, and don't be fooled into thinking that gold, silver, the cryptos are somehow not going to play a role. They are essential and necessary. Okay, low volume persists. Wait for the volume for the true market direction to form. And yes, I'm bearish in the later on in the fall, but right now I'm cautiously bullish. We're climbing the wall of worry. You short this market at your own peril. Okay, I can't talk this morning. Okay. So what we're watching for is continued choppy, manipulated market. Trade the market that is given to you, not the one you want. Low volume. I hate this shit. Okay, we need volume. Warning, need volume. Volume likely to return next week ahead of OPEX. So I do believe Monday is going to be a pretty fabulous opening based on our gamma, but we'll see when the cash market opens if that actually holds. But silver and gold, watch carefully. Bottom formation, get when nobody wants it. Okay, buy on any pullbacks on the cryptos. Don't fight the bull. Looking for exhaustion gaps and climax runs. We just haven't had this blow off top formation. It'll come when it comes, right? This week will be manipulated higher on low volume. Okay, I think Trump's 250th U.S. birthday celebration continues all July. Okay, folks, markets are rigged. Here, I said it, right? What do you want? A prize? It's rigged. You play the rigged game, then you have to play by that rules. Okay, we're watching the bottom formation. Okay, in the markets and in certain areas for the cryptos and gold. But Intuitive Surgical this week and Costco, I'm super bearish on. And so these are two of our bearish plays, among others. We have a whole, for those of you watching later on YouTube or X.com, we have a whole watch list that is updated. Bullish on AVGO, EcoPatrol, Microsoft, XRP, Google, United Healthcare, CMG, very bullish. I'm super bullish on CMG, folks. Okay. So that's about it. Thank you so much for listening to me. A little long video. That's what happens when I skip 1 week because, well, this market's for the birds, folks. Okay, if you want a bird market, go to a bird store and go buy some birds. If you really want to trade, you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them. That's a Kenny Rogers song, right? Really, really, you should listen to that song. It'll help you become better traders. Anyways, follow me at Galaxy.market. Like us, share us, and above all, comment on YouTube. And thank you so much for subscribing. I like all comments, good and bad. Okay. And then if you want to work with me, you have to email me at coachbrandon@protonmail.com. We also have entry-level community membership for most of you. That's all you may need. $49 a month. Watch list, daily market commentaries, macroeconomic analysis, charts. What more do you want? If you need more, a customized approach, more of the elite level, we also have those. You need to inquire about that. And but other than that, wait for the volume. Don't get too big. Okay, volume will come. Okay, we're heading into the last days of the summer trading and the fall. And boy, fall's going to be a doozy, but you got to be patient. Okay, bye-bye.